Good day, I'm Junior Researcher Adam Southgate, and today's lecture will be covering the Nary Court. I'd appreciate that all hunters please subscribe, as to not miss any future lectures, and also, if you enjoy the lecture and find it informative, please like the video and click the bell to ensure you do not miss any future announcements. I would also be very happy to hear your thoughts, views, and stories of your own interactions with the monsters of the spheres in the comment area of this video. Also, I'm always ready to answer any questions you may have, and please share these lectures with any hunters you feel would benefit from them. So, to begin, as always, we'll start with our general announcements. Firstly, Master Hunter Jeffrey O'Sullivan will be creating a specialized task force to investigate the increase in Fey infiltration of the Order, along with conducting research into the larger Fey sphere. He has been given permission to relaunch the Merlin's Eye, an old branch of the Order once dedicated to internal investigations, and, along with this, has been given the rank of Seeker to legitimize his new role. The issue of Celtic knot tattoos has gotten somewhat out of hand, and with the Morganian Conclave now active within Wales, we cannot discount the possibility of infiltration. Master Hunter O'Sullivan has been allocated a budget and given the right to choose the members of his own team. I ask that all hunters be as accommodating as possible to any of his requests until the matter is resolved. Secondly, I would like to thank hunters Dragon God 2000, Ninja Grim 1, That Gal Is a Fly 2939, and Z Commie X for their efforts to rectify the cold iron weapon shortage. Each has worked tirelessly to rebuild our supplies, and through their efforts we have managed to make a dent in the larger deficit. We do still have a long way to go. The defense of Dry Goch was a costly operation in terms of cold iron weapons and ammunition. However, with hunters such as these, we will soon be resupplied. Thirdly, it has come to the Order's attention that a small group of Morganian Conclave members have managed to slip our net and found themselves in Pentrefellin. The group consists of 18 individuals, and they have managed to hide themselves within the small village. We believe they have a hybrid Fey with them, which obviously increases the danger they pose. It appears as though the hybrid has been able to charm the residents into believing that they have always lived there, thus discovering who are the Conclave members will be somewhat more difficult. They are armed and considerably dangerous, and were most likely sent out to investigate our larger defenses. We cannot allow them to return with any information, as if the Conclave were to learn of our weakened state, they may abandon any attempt at caution, and we simply cannot deal with an all-out attack at present. We require a team of 30 hunters for the task, of journeyman rank if you possess experience dealing with armed humans, or master rank. No apprentice hunters will be permitted to join in this contract due to the increased risk. If you are interested and available, please contact your local Order office. Before we can discuss the Nary Court, we must first have a little side discussion about morality. Now, before you become too confused, I will mention that it is pertinent to the larger subject we are discussing today. Our morality is based upon what I like to call the ouch principle, simply the idea that if you hurt me, then I'll hurt you. This can be seen with our laws and punishments, and even amongst young children, the ouch principle can still very clearly be observed. When a young child is hurt by another, their first instinct is to enact retribution. This instinct is tempered by the threat of the original victimizer causing further harm in retaliation for their retaliation. While many societies have made steps to work against this instinct by aiming their justice system upon reform rather than just simple revenge, revenge is still what all justice is based upon, the ouch principle. Now, imagine for me, if you will, a society that, instead of basing their justice upon revenge against the primary aggressor, they instead track as many interactions as possible the primary aggressor had up to the event in question. Not to judge the aggressor based on past behavior, but instead to find the initial reason why the aggressor acted in the way they did. So, for example's sake, our young aggressor was scolded by their mother before they interacted with the victim. If this is found to be the reason for their aggression, then the mother would be punished. Another example would be if a homeless individual accidentally killed a victim in a robbery. The person held responsible could be a family member who forced them from their home, or even a politician whose policies led to the homeless individual's current circumstances. This we will call the cause principle. Today's subjects were human, or at least human-like, whose system of justice was based upon this cause principle. Everything we know of the Nary Court comes from individuals classified as the unborn, as well as an unfortunate amount of speculation and extrapolation. We believe that they originate from one of the many subspheres that are connected with our greater sphere, and they are also biomechanical in nature. Our current hypothesis is that at one point the subsphere, before its collapse to its current size, was much like our own, though with two important differences. The first, as stated, is the cause principle, a society where guilt is tracked back like a line of dominoes, not to the last two to fall, but instead the first. The second appears to be a far more technologically advanced society with a heavy reliance on biomechanics. The Nary Court appears to be an automated system of justice that has breached into our sphere and then simply continued its role. What is truly frightening is that while our earlier limited examples may seem to some fair, the Nary Court looks further back and will condemn based on actions as innocuous as deciding to bathe instead of showering. This is not due to the difference in water usage, but instead the cascade of actions and reactions that result from that decision. As stated earlier, everything we know of the Nary Court comes from the unborn. These are individuals that have been found guilty and are midway through their punishment. To begin, a person is, between a blink, transported to the Nary Court, described as a pulsating, fleshy room. Before them is what the Order has designated as the judge. The judge pulls from the individual every single moment of their lives. However, none have been able to adequately explain exactly what this means. The judge and the abducted person view these memories up to the point of the abduction, and then, strangely, the memories continue as if the abduction never took place. This process is described as taking as long as the individual's life would be, with no words passing between the two. We do not know what happens if an individual is found innocent, or even if they can be found innocent, but we do know what happens when they are found guilty. They become the unborn. Returned to the very moment they were taken, though most likely they were never actually taken and instead the experience was projected into their minds, they will find that no one remembers them, and any impact they had upon the world, no matter how small, will have been undone. This is referred to as becoming unborn, as the mothers of these people will show no sign of ever bearing them or giving birth to them. These unborn are in a Schrodinger's state, both existing and not existing, and at the same time, they are being hunted. The Venator is a being of the Nary Court, sent to enact the sentence of the judge. This sentence is always the same: absolute removal from existence. The condemned, in their quantumly unstable state, only have two possible outcomes. The first is that the Venator finds and removes them, at which point no one will ever be aware that they existed in the first place. Those within the Schrödinger state are capable of forming new impacts upon history and people, however, they too will be undone if they are caught by the Venator. The second is death by any other means than the Venator. While this obviously isn't a perfect outcome, they will be returned to history and memory. This is how we have any knowledge of the Nary Court. When individuals are identified within the Schrödinger state, we attempt to apprehend them, explain their situation to them, and then eliminate them so that something of them will still remain. The worrying aspect of this is that we theorize that we only manage to save, for lack of a better term, less than 1% of these people. One of the pieces of evidence for this is the global drop in birth rates. It is terrifying to think, but very possible that a large portion of the population has already been deleted in this manner, and that we have failed to stop these deletions a great many times. However, we don't remember because these people now never existed. The experience of the unborn is rather traumatic. Beyond their encounter with the judge, once they return to themselves, they will find that no one is aware of who they are. They may have been walking with a partner who now views them as a complete stranger, or worse, they may have been with their child who now no longer exists due to the unborn who birthed them having been erased. The unborn's first reaction is typically to believe that either they themselves or those around them have suffered a psychotic break. They do have full memory of their time with the judge, however, the mind compartmentalizes the experience to protect itself. As time passes, the unborn will discover more about the depth of their situation. They may find strangers living in what was their home, or their husbands or wives married to other people. This regrettable state of affairs will cause a lashing out at the general situation as the unborn rails against the situation they find themselves in. This is typically the point when they are discovered by the Venator, confronted with the reality that the experience with the judge was in fact real, and knowing on an instinctual level that the Venator is dangerous to them, they will flee. This is typically the stage where we find them, as they use any means available to escape their pursuer. Upon entering our custody, we explain their situation to them. Most unborn will fall in on themselves at this revelation, swallowed by the fact that they cannot live either way. We would prefer to simply eliminate them quickly without their knowledge to reduce their suffering and return them to existence, even if just as a corpse. However, we require any knowledge or observations they may have made of the judge and the Venator. The Venator, being able to pass through solid matter and never resting, will always eventually catch up to the unborn in time. It can move up to 50 miles per hour when observed by the unborn, and much faster when not observed. As time runs short and the Venator closes the distance, the unborn will either reach a point of acceptance where they will realize that it is better to have existed than not, and allow themselves to be killed, or they will continue to fight against what is happening, where we will be forced to commit the act without their consent to restore our timeline. Sadly, as of now, there is no way to directly deal with the Nary Court. Our only recourse is to assist the unborn in the only way we can, ensuring that they did in fact exist. As hunters, you will be given emergency contracts related to the unborn who are actively running. These John and Jane Does will be extremely frightened, and you must approach them with great care. You must establish trust with the unborn, as only they can see the Venator. This contract is best undertaken as part of a team, as you will need to remain on the move and at high speeds. You will need to question the unborn for any and all information possible about their experiences, and then attempt to convince them that their death either way is inevitable. However, if done by your hands, they will have existed, whereas if the Venator captures them, they will never have existed. This is not a task for the faint of heart. As hunters, you are asked to put your lives in harm's way on a regular basis. However, with a task such as this, the emotional toll is far higher, as you will be attempting to convince someone else to die. The Venator itself is utterly immune to any damage we are able to inflict, meaning that all we can do for the unborn is buy time for them to accept their regrettable situation. It is not a task anyone would envy. There are a lot of unanswered questions when it comes to the Nary Court. What we think we know is simply extrapolation based upon the observations of the unborn. We do not know if they turned themselves into this, or if it was done to them. We don't know if they have an overarching goal, or if they are simply acting on a case-to-case basis. And we don't know to what extent they may have already affected our timeline. They are a true unknown, and any picture we attempt to piece together of them is heavily reliant on speculation. What's more worrying is that we may have at one point known exactly what they were. However, by removing the right person, they could have deleted that knowledge. There truly is no way of knowing. We are adrift, and until we make some more substantial strides into our knowledge of the spheres, we will remain in the dark. But that will be all for today. With Arthur's might and Merlin's wisdom, thank you.